Last night on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week. We're always here to talk sports with you, and all you have to do is call us at 412-575-2600. Let us know what you think. You can also hit me up on Twitter at KDPomp or at The Pony Express. And Andrew Filipponi's up at 93.7 The Fan. I've watched hockey for many, many years, Andrew, but I don't remember seeing an own goal like we saw last night into a delayed penalty call when the goaltender pulled. And listen to the explanations of it all. It was just a typical night at the office with the Penguins. When things go bad, they go real bad. And those are two of your primary players involved in that. Just a careless way. And, I mean, it kind of summed up this trip. 0-2 in the desert. No points. I thought going into this they may get, 2 out of 4, maybe 3 out of 4, but 0 out of 4. We may look back at the end of the season and say this trip to the desert was the reason they didn't get in the playoffs.
I hope you're wrong, Bob. That
so do
play
I, but
reminded
it could be.
me. Yeah, that play reminded me of Will Craig in the Pirates. It was that bad. In 2009, had the same number of wins, 21 wins through 44 games. So it's not impossible. The 2009 team fired its coach. The 2016 made all kinds of big trades. So something's got to give here, and I think that puts extra scrutiny on Kyle Dubas. He made a huge trade this offseason, and really, Bob, that has not worked. His big move was Erik Karlsson. The best thing that did so far was get bad contracts out of Pittsburgh. Erik Karlsson has not lived up to his reputation this season.
No, but they did get rid of a lot of money, which I think was the primary focus of that deal. They certainly expect him to do more than he's done. Quite frankly, I would remove him from the top playoff or power play spot. And to your point about comparing those seasons, I get that. But this is a much older team. And Kyle Dubas came in and doubled down on this team and giving this core what it needed to hopefully contend in the next several years as they kind of age out. And Crosby's lived up to it, but the other guys necessarily, and specifically Malkin, has not. So I wonder what you do as March 8th approaches. Let's say they're still in the situation. They're 7 out of the second wild card, Andrew. They still have some ground, and you're 44 games into it, which means you can't afford to go in any kind of tailspins here. What do they do at the trade deadline? If they believe they can't be a contender in this, and I think they will be, but if they're not, Jake Guentzel is the first item of business, and I wonder what Kyle Dubas will do with that.
If they're 7 points out on March 5th, 3 days before the trade deadline, they should trade him. If that's where they are a month and a half from now, they should do that because he can always sign back here in the offseason. It's not a long-term deal with the team he gets traded to or the players he gets traded for. I would absolutely do that if that's where they are on March 8th because 7 points out of a second wild card, still a lot of hockey left, but you'd be a big underdog to make the playoffs, and I want to get something for him without the guarantee that he's going to sign back here. I mean, they should be, in my opinion, they should be negotiating. They're not the Pittsburgh Steelers. They should be negotiating with Guentzel on a long-term deal right now. Bob, you remember this because you've got a great memory for hockey. Remember a couple years ago when the Rangers were not going to make the playoffs? Everybody in the world thought Dan Kreider was going to get traded, and they made a contract extension with him right before the deadline. They did not want to see that guy walk. And that's what the Penguins, in my opinion, should be doing with Guentzel. I get it. When he signs that deal, he'll become another guy that gets paid into his 30s, but he's a point-per-game performer, and you've already made the deal with the Devil to try to win a Stanley Cup as the oldest team in the NHL. So I wouldn't back down from that.
No, I wouldn't either, but it doesn't look good when the agent of Jake Guentzel comes out and says things could get ugly. They should be talking. You're right. There's no reason for them not to be leading up to this March 8th deadline. We'll see what happens. It'll be fascinating. The Penguins have 2 home games coming up this weekend, big ones. Florida Panthers, a really
Are you going to be there,
team.
Bob? Would you like to sit next to me? We could get some sundaes, some cherries, some hot
you like those
fudge,
maraschino cherries
chocolate
just like
sauce.
I do. Yeah, I mean, that's a good game, and so is Montreal. Canadians always play the Penguins tough. Good Good weekend, 4 points, big time for the Penguins. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night, X of the night, comes from Baseball Reference. This is your Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2024. Jim Leyland, although I wish he was wearing the pirate black and gold instead of Detroit, but he won big there. Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, Adrian Beltre, 4 guys heading into the Hall of Fame, which is good to see. And that leads me to the Pirate question here. Last night we talked a lot about Aroldis Chapman. And now the Pirates seemingly are in the hunt, or at least one of the teams interested in Noah Syndergaard, who's had his share of injuries. But you're a Mets guy, Andrew, and this is, as we take a look at Chapman from last night, but Syndergaard's a guy who has some interesting upside. He may want to sign a one-year deal to say, I still can do this, because he had kind of an up and down and mostly down season last year with the Guardians and the Dodgers. What do you make of him? He's only 31. Would you give it a shot?
I don't think he's a starting pitcher anymore. I think he's got to make a big adjustment or pivot in his career to be good. I think he's got to, and I don't think it'll go this way. I think he's got to pull a Dennis Eckersley or a John Smoltz or an Oliver Perez, who had his career extended by like 15 years because he went from starting pitcher to relief pitcher. And even though Syndergaard's not a lefty, I sat behind home plate for a game he pitched at PNC Park last year with the Dodgers. The velocity is gone. When you ask him to try to do it for more than 1 or 2 innings, his ERA split between LA and Cleveland last year was over 6. Yeah. It wasn't much better the year before that. So, no, I have no interest in him as a starting pitcher, Bob. I think those years are behind him. I think he's got to become a guy that empties the tank for 20 or 30 pitches max out of a bullpen. If you would have told me before the offseason started that the Pirates' starting pitching moves would be Marco Gonzalez, Martin Perez, and Noah Syndergaard, if I had something in my mouth, I would have spit it out.
Well, not so much for Perez. I mean, he had a pretty good year last year. I don't mind that signing at all. I'm bringing this up because I know that he's 31.
But Bob, here's the deal. Here's the deal with these guys, though. We're all talking about. They're all 4th and 5th starters.
I know.
Even Perez. None of these guys are. I thought the Pirates needed, and it's either expensive, either in a trade or with free agent dollars. I thought they needed someone to buttress Keller at the top of their rotation. Somebody to be a number 2 starter.
Well, they hope that's
3.
going to be Paul Skeens, right? I mean, that's the whole idea. Keller, Skeens,
yeah, not until Memorial Day, Bob, and that's the problem with that and the economics of baseball, as you and I gripe about and complain about all the time.
Yeah.
But that's the situation there, is that they're going to be without, in my opinion, in your opinion, probably their first or second best starter for the first 40 games of the season or 50 games of the year because of arbitration clocks and things like that.
All right, let's go to our number 1 Cochran Go One Better caller of the night. We're going to begin with JB in Shadyside. What's up, JB?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
Hey, JB.
All right, good. Hey, how you doing, Andrew? So I wanted to talk about Dubas. When we brought in Rutherford, the guy had won a cup, so he had a lot of pedigree. Dubas's teams in the playoffs have historically flopped, so I didn't understand bringing him here in the first place. His moves have been awful. Like the Carlson deal, it's like you're bringing in an old guy who's just like what you have, and those guys, they weren't doing.
Ryan Graves doesn't look so well
you,
either, JB. Ryan Graves should be better than what he is. They gave him a long-term deal.
Jari too.
I don't mind Jari so much. But $5 million for a goaltender, I think my chances with that. But some of these other deals have not exactly worked out. And I'm going to be very interested to see how he handles this. This is a team that expects to win. That's what they're built for. So we go to the trade deadline, and boy, it will be interesting to see how they play it. And knowing that if they do double down and sign Gensel, how much money do they have, and who do they have to sacrifice to make it all fit?
Yeah, Bob, I actually still think they're going to make the playoffs, and I still think they're actually going to win a playoff series. And I know that seems far-fetched right now, but one of the numbers that I think gives me reason to believe, they are 27th in the league in shooting percentage. They are one of the worst teams. They get pucks on net, but they don't make those shots. I refuse to believe that with the talent that they have, that's going to be something that plays out over the course of 82 games. I just think they're going to get better luck. I don't think their power play is going to be ranked 31st or 32nd the entire year. The good thing about this season through 44 games is that they're 7th in goals allowed. Bob, it makes no sense. They're 7th in goals allowed and 21st in goals scored. Wouldn't you have thought back in October it would have been flipped?
Yeah.
They'd be a top 10 scoring team and a bottom-end defensive team.
And I would have thought their power play would be above what they had last year, which I thought was below what their average is. And here it is teetering at 30th in the NHL. That doesn't make sense.
Right. So if the power play becomes average and their shooting percentage becomes average, I think they're going to win a lot of games over the next 40 games. I really believe that.
But you've had 44 games to have that change, and it's gotten worse. That's
well, and you can even say last year for 82 games, they were an average team, too, that won 40 and lost 42.
Right.
So I get all that, but I still think there's enough high-end talent on this team with guys also in new places like Carlson and Graves, where as the season goes on, they'll get more comfortable and they'll play better. I just refuse to believe that this team is completely shot and done.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I think there's still it's a manageable Eastern Conference. I think you'll see teams come back to them. I think the Flyers are really in a rebuild, but John Tortorella's gotten a lot out of this young team.
Now, what's going on with their goaltending situation
well,
there
Carter
now, Bob,
Hart is gone
in
indefinitely now. Is that a mental leave, or what's he dealing with? There are issues there. I don't know. See it. But yeah, I mean that's a big. But they're also a rebuild team. Owen Tippett's been very good, but they have a lot of guys that are not yet ready, but will be soon. But I think they'll come back. I think Washington is not that good, to be honest. Pony, I don't. I think they're going to come back. Anyway, I want to tell you about some good news that happened tonight. The Pitt basketball team made it 2 in a row. They beat Duke the other night, and they parlayed that and the emotion that came with it into a win tonight against Georgia Tech. I have a tweet here from Kevin Davis. Why is there no talk about bringing Trevor Bauer to Pittsburgh? We've heard all this talk. He's a locker room cancer. He's accused of this and that. But none of that ever panned out. I wouldn't be against that, would you, Andrew?
Well, it's the first part of that. He was a very prickly guy and somebody that rubbed people the wrong way even before the accusations come out. Bob, I know you're very familiar with the Francona family. Terry Francona, one of the most revered, respected guys in baseball. Terry Francona was not a fan of Trevor Bauer when he managed him in Cleveland. Remember that time he went out to take him out of a game?
Yep.
And Bauer took the ball and threw it over the center field wall in Kansas City. I mean, he's just, Bob, he is a mercurial guy.
But he's talented.
He went to Korea and didn't pitch very well. So there's a lot of baggage there. It's just, I get it. I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures, but there's a lot of bad PR that would come with Bauer. But more than anything else, I see him as somebody that would negatively affect the chemistry of your team, and I just don't think he's a good enough pitcher anymore where the reward outweighs the risk with that, Bob.
All right, one quick call before we go to break. That's going to be Rich and Baldwin. Rich, you have 30 seconds, please.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah, this is Ron.
Okay, Ron, sorry. My eyes deceived me.
Hello, Ron.
Yeah. I can't help thinking about the quote from Najee when he said about the Steelers' offensive philosophy of run the ball anyways. And then we see another team that struggles in the playoffs, Dallas, and there is a little variant to that, and it's throw to CD Lamb anyways. And I just wonder how long after we get our new offensive coordinator is it going to be run the ball anyways?
Well, they're never going to deviate from running the ball.
The offensive coordinator thing's a really big deal. And, Cliff Kingsbury stuff today from Peter King. Bob, I'm really I want somebody better than that. You realize Cliff Kingsbury had a losing record at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes?
And he wasn't much better in Arizona as time went on with Kyler Murray. So, but the thing about it is there's so many openings still that have to be filled, not just for offensive coordinators, but for head coaches as well. So this keeps going on. And Cincinnati now needs one as well. And they got Joe Burrow, Andrew.
Bob, is it true you're picking Detroit on Sunday?
Where'd you hear that?
I just heard a little mouse tell me that.
I'm tempted to do it, yes. If Deebo Samuel does not play, that's going to be my pick. But I don't know that, and I won't know until Saturday. But anyway, we're out of time, Pony. As always, I appreciate it. Thanks very much. We'll see you again tomorrow night, everyone, right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. See you at 11 on KDKA. Good night.